Welcome back to the Rags to Riches podcast. We want to kind of change, bases here. We've done a few ministers, pulpit ministers. We want to take some time, probably in the next few weeks, and kind of focus on music ministry. And so today we have with us the one, the only, our music minister here at Souls Harbor, Brother Scott McCollum. We want him to just give his testimony of what God has done for him, where God has brought him. If you don't know this man, you will be blessed today, and just allow him to speak into your life right now. So without further ado, Brother Scott.
Thank you there, Brother John. I guess I just started off maybe 2 years ago. I know you just want me to give my testimony of things, what's going on now. We don't ever know, what we go through and when we're going to go through it. Sometimes, the Lord might, allow us to know things. But a couple of years ago, Brother John, I had started having some symptoms, and, I'm not against doctors. I'm not against hospitals. Luke was a physician and he was a disciple of Jesus, but I just don't like going to the doctors. And my wife, I started, opening up to her about some things that was going on. Well, long story short, I went ahead and just went, and come to find out, they saw a mass on my right kidney, and they did another scan. Now, just kind of tell you, this was during when COVID was just really hitting pretty bad, and you wasn't getting in the hospitals, you wasn't getting scans, you wasn't getting things that we would need for our health, because they was COVID just really took over. But they was able to literally get me in. I went on I think it was a Tuesday, I believe it was, to have a ultrasound done on my liver, and because my liver enzymes were up, and the doctor was concerned, and the thing that was going on wasn't going on with my liver, it was my kidney, and so the report come in. I had to go in to see the doctor, and they said we need more scans to confirm what's going on here. So within the next day, they done had me in the hospital and doing more scans, and that doctor confirmed what the first doctor confirmed about it being cancer. And so like I said, it's kind of during them times you just wasn't getting in the hospitals. Well, they done had me set up. Before I even got the report, Brother John, the doctor's office was already calling me, trying to set me up with a specialist, a surgeon. And I didn't even know yet what that second scan was saying, but the doctor had called me up and said, yeah, that doctor confirmed it is cancer. And so, okay, I go, and, my wife was crying, and if you've never been told you've got cancer, I can't explain to you the feeling. It was a punch in the gut, but the whole time, Brother John, I wasn't worried. My wife was crying, and I'm laughing. I turned to her. The doctor just told me, that doctor said, you got cancer. And they said it was a large mass, and I looked at my wife. I said, baby, it's going to be okay. And I believed that, and God is a healer. And I've always told folks, if God can use me through my testimony to encourage somebody else that may be going through the same thing, or through other health issues, then Lord, use me. And so I'm going to take this platform to try to encourage you tonight. But they did the scans. They set me up with a surgeon. Within the next week, the surgeon was there, and he said, yeah, you got cancer. And I looked at him, and first he said, you got a tumor. And I said, no, I don't. And I knew the mass was there, but what I was telling him is, it might be there, but my God is there, and he's going to take care of this mass. He's gonna take care of it. And like I said, Luke was a physician, and God uses doctors. And the miracle about this, Brother John, is they moved fast, and they normally don't move fast. And they sort of send me stuff in the mail to go ahead and get registered, for the surgery and everything. We're going to have to mail these things back in, and that way they can set me up to with the hospital to schedule a date. And there's not a whole lot of people that knows this, but when they sent the paper in for me to read about my diagnosis, the doctor had said that we feel like it's urgent to get this thing out. We feel like it could result in death if we don't. We don't need to wait the 4 to 6 weeks to do this surgery. We need to do it now. Within 3 weeks, probably, from being diagnosed with having cancer, I was in the operating room getting that thing took out. And I'll never forget, through all of that, how God just stepped in. And at that time, I worked for myself, and it's just seasonal work, and I was doing a little part-time job, and I was trying to give, Brother John, to the church, trying to give in special offerings, try to do a little bit more, try to help people that were in need. And I'm saying that to say this: I believe because of me obeying God and try to help others that are in need, because at the time I didn't think I was in need. I didn't know I had health issues that was going on. And through that, naturally, you're not going to get to work. And so during all of that, I didn't get to work. For 6 weeks, I wasn't supposed to work. No income coming in, so how are you going to get the bills paid? Brother John, I wasn't late on the first bill. The Lord provided the need, and He sustained us, kind of like the widow woman. She's going to bake a cake for her and her son, and then they was going to eat it and they was going to die. And the preacher told him, he said, look, bake me a cake first, and then for you and your son. And you wonder, why in the world would you want to take all that they have? But I believe this. I believe if you take care of God's people, God's going to take care of you. And through all of that, God really moved, and He really made a way. And after the surgery, it was really amazing, because I was having the church to help me pray, because you go through cancer, you're looking at, most of the time, you're going to have some kind of treatment, whether it's chemo, radiation. And the doctor come in, and he said, well, there is first of all, he said, you have stage 2 cancer. And he said, but there's just a 20% chance of ever coming back. My wife's crying, and me and the doctor looked at her, and we said, well, that means it's an 80% chance that it's not going to come back. And so God is able. Our perception, I believe, will go a long ways in what God does for us, our faith in Him. And I just decided years ago that I was going to trust in God, and I was going to just have my faith in Him, and God brought me through that. I didn't have to go through no treatments, no radiation, no chemo, and God really did a wonderful work. I was in church one night, and the church was continually praying for me, Brother John, and there was one night, and you can say I'm crazy all you want to, I don't care. I know God, and I know what God can do. But there was one night, Brother John, and this was before the surgery. I was going to have bone scans done, because the levels in my bones were showing signs for cancer. And one night I was just kind of waiting, kind of like the Pool of Bethesda, whenever they were waiting. Once a year, the waters would be troubled. I was waiting for that right time, Brother John, to have prayer. And before I could get up off the piano to go down for prayer, folks, and I started feeling the urge, this is the time. And needless to say, before I could get up, they was just come around me, surrounded me, and begin to pray for me. But I mean, as soon as they laid their hand back here on my right kidney, Brother John, there was a heat sensation that I've never felt before. I have felt God's touch before, but to feel it in that magnitude, I have never. And immediately, that heat went from the top of my head to my feet. And it lasted for the longest. And I believe right then and right there, God capsuled that was on the kidney, because when the doctor come in, he said it was clear cell renal carcinoma. He said it was capsuled to your kidney. It did not get into your bloodstream. He said it didn't get into the fatty tissues of your kidney. It didn't get into the stem where it's connected. Now, when we had talked to him, before all of this, my wife asked him, because he was on and on and on about how large it was. And my wife asked him, he said, well, how long in your experience does it take to get that big? And he said, well, it's got to have been in there 10 to 15 years. And if anybody has had to go through cancer, we know that it's a hand of God to stop it. And I believe right then, that night, Brother John, I believe God capsuled that. The bone levels are still high, showing that there's still cancer. But every time I go to the doctor and get blood work, those levels are continually going down. Now, this is without chemo. This is without radiation. So if you've come to tell me that God isn't a healer, you've come too late, because God has proven to me time and time again that he's a healer. And that's been 2 years ago. Well, for the past year and a half, I've been experiencing other things. And a nurse told me one time, and I believe God sends us to the right people. And she told me, she said, God gives the toughest battles to his strongest warriors. And I've always been, Lord, whatever you have, whatever you want to do for me, do to me, that's fine. I've got trust and confidence in you. You made this body. And so I just, okay, God, you've got confidence in me. Whatever it is, we're going to get through this. And through all of that, I've got a tumor that has started growing in my chest. And church began to pray. And, well, it's not cancer. It's benign. But they are talking about still needing to remove it. Back in October, I want to think it was, they found a tumor on my brain. And that, I ain't gonna lie to you, after going through it once, and even though God had brought me through it, the flesh side of me wanted to come up. I believe the enemy wanted to attack my mind and attack my faith, and by all means he has. For the last several months, my body has went down. I went, and there's not really nobody that knows this, just a few people I've talked to, but the last scans I had done with a 6-month checkup, Brother John, they removed my whole right kidney. And for the next 3 years, I've got to go and have scans done every 6 months. Well, for the past 2 years, nothing ever showed up. But now they're saying that there is a small spot that's come up on my left kidney. And I'm having issues with the kidney not functioning right. It's not filtering right. But still yet, Brother John, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. And I feel like I've sowed faith. I've been faithful to God for 30-something years. I'm far from perfect. But God, and let me say, but God, has been there. And I was talking to someone that whenever I was telling them about this, and they said, well, how in the world can you have a smile on your face? How can you be so positive? All I could tell them was God. But God. I told him, I said, he is the one that spoke this world into existence. Literally, Brother John, everything we have in this world, the trees, the moon, the stars, he spoke it all into existence. And the thing that he spoke into existence, the dust from the earth, the thing that he spoke into existence, he formed man. He formed us in his image. And then not only that, but he breathed his breath of life into us. And so my question is, who else am I going to have trust and faith and confidence in? Who else has that kind of power? Why not just go ahead and resolve to give it all to God? Let God take care of it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm weak in body. Yeah, I'm drained. I'm tired. I'm weak. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of being weak, and I'm tired of being drained. But one thing I ain't tired of, I ain't tired of having my faith in God. I'm not tired of having confidence in God, because He's been there with me. He's been there with me since day one. I could go from the time I was born till now. I'm just a few days short of being 50. God has been with me, brought me through so many trials and so many tests, and every one of them, I've put a smile on my face. If you put a smile on your face, you're confusing the devil, because he wants to think that he can bottle our faith up. He wants to try to hinder us. But if we can come to the house of the Lord and find some kind of, and your best might not be as somebody else's best. Your 100% might not be as much as somebody else's 100% when you come to God, come to His house to worship, or you go out into the world. But if you give your life to God and you give it your very best, can't nobody beat that. And so let me encourage you today, whatever you're going through, it doesn't matter if it's physical, if it's finances, whatever you're going through, God is big enough. My pastor said, Brother Chair, he says, God is big enough, bad enough, rough enough, tough enough, and got stuff enough to take care of it. And so I have that faith, and I have that trust and confidence in God. So trusting God, that's the only thing I can say, is trusting God. And whenever I'm laying in my casket, whenever God decides, and I say when God decides, because He's the one that gives and takes life. The devil went to Job, or to God, and said, and God asked him, Brother John, he asked him, where are you going? And he said, I've been up and down, to and fro. And God asked him, have you considered my servant Job a perfect and upright man? And the devil said, well, how can I? You got a hedge around him. I can't get to him. And we all know the story. He lost his friends. He lost his family. But Job never lost his integrity in God. He kept his faith in God. And in the end, he prayed for his friends that turned their backs on him. And in the end, God blessed Job, double of everything he has ever had. And so let me encourage you. Hold on. Give it to God. Have faith, have trust, have confidence in Him. Because I promise you, He'll bring you through.
Amen, Brother Scott. One thing I want to just kind of add, you're talking about being faithful. And that's something that I'm a huge believer in. I was raised that way. Anyone that knows my family knows my uncle, which was my pastor growing up, he pushed us to be faithful. And even now, but sitting under Brother Contreras, he has the same mindset, same mentality. And one thing that people don't know, a lot of people don't know, and it's kind of like a joke here at our church, is that Brother Scott has attended this church longer than our pastor and pastor's wife right now. He's been here longer than they have. And I think that there's something to be said in that, Brother Scott, is the fact that not only were you faithful to God, or still faithful to God, but you've been faithful in one church. And God, I think God honors that, because God sees, it's so easy, and you see it so many times, that we move here and there when we get our feelings hurt, or someone over here might be doing something a little bit newer than what we're doing right now, so I'm going to go check out what they're doing. It's just different things. But despite everything, despite over the years, everything that has happened, you have continued to stay faithful, and you have continued to trust in God no matter what. And so, like I said, there's definitely something to be said for that. Brother Scott, I just want you to know we love and appreciate you and everything you do for this church. We often hear about it's the small things in life that matter, and people that don't know Brother Scott can understand that he's all about the small things. This is a man that faithfully during the summer will mow the grass when it needs to be done. Last year we had to remodel our sanctuary. Brother Scott could have been out doing anything else he wanted to do, but he was here making sure the church got done in time. I think we were getting ready for anniversary service, making sure that things were ready and prepared for that event. And so that's just the mindset that he has. And so like I said, we love you guys. We love and appreciate you. We're praying for you. We know God's got this. No matter the situation, God's got it. And if He's healed you before, He'll do it again. And we love and trust that God that we serve. So thank you again for tuning in. Again, this was the Rags to Riches podcast. We appreciate you listening and tuning in. Until next time, God bless.